Well, I promised not to make you sit through me summarizing your work. So what does esteemed audience need to know about Squashed, available here September 20th?
Well, Squashed is a short graphic novel, and it's about these two kids who go into the woods and they find this really strange looking pumpkin and they take it home. And then come to find out, a I hope it's not a spoiler, but a scarecrow is actually, they stole the pumpkin from the scarecrow, and the scarecrow has to track them down and try to get it back. And then at the end, there's a happy surprise about what the pumpkin really is. And I won't call it a horror because I don't think it's that scary, but it's like a spooky autumn time, but also heartwarming book.
Well, it's a perfect read, especially for the middle grade crowd who's looking for something that's fall themed, that is a little bit scary for Halloween, but that without spoiling is not going to end darkly or
Yeah, yeah, there we go.
well, I say that, but who do you have an ideal reader in mind for this?
It's labeled as a young reader's book, and I could see it being very appealing to young readers, especially anybody who's into anything like supernatural and spooky. But I think while I was drawing it, I was trying to keep everybody in mind, and I also feel like there's a lot of people who are my age or older who would also still really enjoy it. So hopefully everybody.
Well, I'm well beyond middle grade years, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I also enjoyed the earlier film version.
I saw that too.
Esteemed audience can head to, is it DunyPress.com to see the film?
Yeah, I think it's on Beauty Press.
So Squash the Film is available now. And is that you in the movie?
It is, yeah. It's me and my brother, and I want to say we were 7 and 11 years old at the time.
So this is a family project your dad directed.
Yeah, he had gotten a new camera at the time. He was really excited to do something with it, so he had this idea, and then he was like, "I have kids that could be actors," and we started filming, and we did it like after school and stuff.
So
I don't think he ever planned on it turning into a book or whatever it is now, but like it was just supposed to be a home movie, but it's good. It was a lot of fun.
So I wondered with that, because you're in there. Those are your brothers, so it's all three kids.
Uh,
That-
I have one brother, and then the other kid was a friend of my brother's.
oh, okay. Gotcha. So I don't know if your dad has decided you're going to be his illustrator now, just because movie stardom hasn't yet happened. if he was planning to raise actors, but when you make a project like that, I'm assuming that's you're watching that as a family. The whole family is involved, and it's memories for everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah. I also, like, a lot of my friends at the time at the school I was at got to see the film too. And even now, like while I'm making the graphic novel, like I've gotten messages from them through like Instagram, and they'll be like, "Wow, it's so cool that like I remember that film and like seeing you guys make it and everything, and now you're making it into a book. It's this like bigger deal." So cool.
Was that add an extra layer of pressure then, because this is such a cherished memory?
I don't think so. I think I I kind of just see it as something to be extra passionate about, and it just makes it more fun to work on.
And is that I'm assuming that influences your interpretation of it as a graphic novel somewhat, because it's the art style has some similarities to what's in the film, but it's very clearly its own thing. When you're drawing this young girl, who I would call our protagonist, she doesn't have a name in the story, although wink, wink, I think her name is Meaghan. Do you think of this? Are you drawing this as it's me as a child, or does she become her own character?
I feel like since so much time had passed since when the movie was made to when I was drawing it, that even though it was me, there was still a bit of a disconnect where I could kind of like create a character who like maybe had a couple qualities of me because it's telling the same story and I'm supposed to be doing pretty much the same actions and everything, but that it has potential that it could be somebody else. Like I tweaked like the hairstyle and everything. Like I didn't make it look exactly like me. So yeah, I think there was enough of a difference that I could kind of weave a new character into it too without completely losing the like memory of it's me.
And did you feel? I mean, you follow the film pretty closely. The story is more. I mean, it's not, shot for shot, but it's a pretty close following. Did you ever consider adding some additional story, or maybe you're going to write a sequel now, and take it to the next journey, or is it kind of important to preserve that initial family experience, but now in graphic novel form?
I think the original idea was just to translate the film into a graphic novel and have a book version. The process of it was my dad didn't write a script for it. He kind of just had like a set list and then he made the film. And I'm not sure he even still had the set list at the time. So the way I went about it was I watched the film and I took like screenshots of every scene. And then I kind of used that as my roadmap to create all the panels and have it follow the story nicely and like page by page. I don't know if we're gonna write a second part to it. I feel like that would be something my dad would do. So you have to ask him.
But now that the graphic novel's out and it is absolutely charming, I mean, it ends self-contained. We can walk away from it forever, and we all had a good time. But there's certainly, I mean, there's more to explore in this world of scarecrows that want their pumpkins.
Yeah, I could definitely see it if it's well received or he ever feels like coming back to it. We can definitely continue the story. Yeah, and I don't know. I can't say for sure, but like I wouldn't mind doing another one.
And when you're telling a story with very minimal dialogue, there's very little dialogue in the film. It's mostly music playing over images. And there's very little dialogue on the page, which is great because I assume that saves on where you need to put your word balloons and figuring out how to get all of that in there. What opportunities does that open up for you just telling the story visually?
It I feel like it almost makes it a little bit more challenging, but I think when it's complete, it might be, I don't want to say more immersive, but people can kind of project a little bit more of their own emotions to it, I think, because when there's not a lot of dialogue, it's a lot more about like the body positions, like what's it called, body language of the characters and facial expressions and everything. So luckily, I feel like I learned a lot of that through animation, so that came in really useful for doing graphic novel work. But unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be an audiobook.
Well, I suppose there could be like an audio snippet.
Yeah.
I didn't time it, but I think if you read all the dialogue out loud, you're looking at maybe if you stretched it a minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah. This is squash. Hey, what's that? Hope you like the story.
Well, I mean, you could do a little intro of, some music and Dooney Press Audio presents. So that would eat up
Yeah,
15,
there we
20
go.
seconds.
Kind of narrate a backstory.
Well, would you ever consider maybe taking your graphic novel and then translating it now into a stop motion film?
I I would need some space, I think, if I was gonna do that, because I haven't done any stop motion since like maybe a year after I graduated, which was 5 years ago now, 2017. But again, I think it's possible. I don't know if I would do it. I like doing the books now, and I feel like I see myself as a book illustrator, and especially doing graphic novels is like really fun for me. So if I can stay here, that would be cool.
Gosh, just all the time that would be going into making the squashed stop motion film is time that couldn't be going into making additional novels.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask a little bit about the scarier aspects of the story as well, because there, as you mentioned, there are some thrilling moments. With we said the scarecrow comes looking for his pumpkin, so esteemed audience can imagine if a scarecrow shows up at your house and is looking for a pumpkin, there could be some tension to that experience. So when you're illustrating that aspect of things and you're trying to go for scary because you want the reader involved, you want the reader to feel the fear, but not too scary that your young readers are going to put the book down and not know the happy ending that's coming. So how do you walk that line? How do you make it scary without being too scary?
Um, I feel like I would have a tendency to go a little overboard and make it too scary. But I think trying to keep in mind that kids could be reading this is like maybe I'll draw something that's a little too scary, but usually I'll like upload things to Google Drive and share them with my dad so we both have input on it, and he can catch things like that too and be like, oh, maybe tone it down like a little bit. So luckily, I think being able to work on the book collaboratively, like every step of the way, is really nice to be able to keep in mind like notes and like edit things along the way that hopefully keeps everything in line of like this book can be for everybody.
So does that mean that there are sketches someplace out there that are a little bit more terrifying that maybe could be released someday?
Uh, a couple. I think mostly my book that I'm working on right now. Actually, I'm kind of going back and forth because there is like a horror movie scene in it, and there's like somebody's getting possessed, and I'm a little bit like I don't know if this is gonna be like young readers, but also know there's a lot of scary video games out there right now, so maybe they'd be okay with it. I don't know.